Hi there, I am Dion Opperman. Welcome to where I unpack what it means to be a writer in the age of AI. If you have watched any of my previous episodes, you will know that as a writer, on the spectrum between the purists' total rejection of AI and the substitutionists' complete handing over of the writing to the AI, I position myself in the zone somewhere between those two extremes, a zone I call the augmentors. So, if in the writing process an augmentor neither rejects AI entirely nor hands all the writing over to the AI, how exactly does an augmentor collaborate with an AI? First and most crucial point to bear in mind, you are telling your story. An AI cannot tell the story you want to tell for the same reason that no other human can tell the story you want to tell. They are not you. No other intelligence, artificial or human, can see the world through your unique lens, shaped by the millions of moments that have formed you, by every success and failure, by your entire psychological architecture built from birth to this moment. They cannot access the vast, intricate internal landscape that makes you uniquely you, and therefore cannot tell the story that only you can tell. As an augmentor, you are the storyteller. The AI is a second, very powerful brain that you plug into your brain, one that exponentially amplifies your imagination thanks to its ability to rapidly generate and present multiple sophisticated options, and one that enhances your discriminative judgment with its own discriminative judgment informed by its vast knowledge base. When it comes to writer-AI collaboration, the augmentor pursues a process that delivers narrative output fueled by the writer's creativity and shaped by the writer's judgment in recognizing which options resonate most powerfully with their vision, but raised by collaboration with the AI to a level that could not be realized by the writer alone, nor by the AI alone. The writer and the AI each bring their unique strengths to create something greater than either could achieve alone. Okay, with that established, I'm going to look at the writer-AI collaboration techniques that I use most often and consider to be writer augmentation techniques rather than handing the writer over to the AI. I will list them first and then unpack them one by one. First, brainstorming, devil's advocate, iteration, questions, feedback, answers, breaking frame, editor. All of these require two key inputs, context and instructions. You cannot expect the AI to brainstorm in any meaningful way, for instance, unless it has access to sufficient information about the context of the narrative element you want to brainstorm. In this episode, my focus is not on providing context, but rather on the instructions to the AI to facilitate these various collaboration techniques. For my thoughts on context, check out episode 6 and episode 9. As noted in the previous episodes I mentioned, AI platforms are working hard on the issue of context. Anthropic's Claude, which is my preferred platform, has just introduced Google Drive integration, which makes the provision of context much easier and is yet another step towards the end goal of total contextual awareness at all times. Okay, so writer augmentation technique number 1, brainstorming. The goal is to brainstorm a narrative element with the AI just as you would with another human being. Whether that narrative element be your story concept, a plot outline and plot beats, character profiles, the world of the story, action description, dialogue, and so on. Brainstorming is not give me an idea. Brainstorming is here's the hole that needs to be filled. Let's exchange ideas and possibilities, sparking one another's imagination until we arrive at a way to fill that hole that neither you nor I had thought of when we began. To activate a brainstorming session with the AI, I have developed the following prompt. I want us to engage in a collaborative brainstorming session to develop a narrative element for my story. This means you will take an active role as a creative collaborator, not just a suggestion generator. Respond to and build upon my ideas. Challenge assumptions when you see alternative possibilities. Share reasoning behind your suggestions. Ask probing questions that might lead to unexpected directions. Suggest combinations or variations of ideas we discuss. We will continue brainstorming until I am satisfied. I want us to explore multiple possibilities, combining and refining ideas until we discover something that neither of us might have conceived independently. Contextual content for the narrative element being brainstormed is provided by the following content. And here you upload relevant context or you refer it to where it can be found. And here are my initial ideas regarding the narrative element I want to develop in this brainstorm session. And now you describe what part of your story, a plot point or beat or character trait or whatever it is you want to develop, and you give your initial inputs and ideas about that. Okay, number 2, devil's advocate. To play devil's advocate is to argue against a position, not as a committed opponent, but to determine the validity of the position. For instance, once you have developed a first rough outline of your story, you could assign the role of devil's advocate to the AI to challenge your choices with valid arguments. Now you have to defend your choices, and in doing so, as you explain your reasons for the choices you have made, you come to understand your choices more deeply or discover that your thinking was flawed and can then adjust the content. I want you to adopt the role of devil's advocate to help me pressure test and strengthen my story choices in the content I will provide. This means you will critically examine the narrative content I present, raise thoughtful challenges about potential weaknesses or inconsistencies, question my assumptions and creative choices constructively, suggest potential narrative problems I may not have considered, focus on substantive narrative issues, not minor details, present alternative perspectives a reader-viewer might have, base your challenges on established storytelling principles, and maintain a constructive tone aimed at strengthening the story. We will then engage in a discussion in which I respond to your challenges, and you in turn respond to my responses. This will continue until I end the discussion. The content I want to pressure test with this devil's advocate session is the following, and then you upload the content that you want to test. Number 3, iteration, questions, feedback, answers. Using your initial ideas and inputs regarding an element of your story, whatever that element may be, the AI formulates a first version of that element based on your initial ideas, and then asks 4 or 5 questions to stimulate you to think more deeply about it. You then give feedback about that first iteration, as they say in a game of craps, your presses, changes, and rearranges that should be included in the next iteration, and also answer any of the questions asked by the AI that you think warrant an answer. The AI then generates the next iteration, incorporating all your inputs, and once again follows up with more questions, and then takes your feedback and answers to any of the new questions you chose to answer, and builds on the previous iteration, incorporating your new inputs, and so on. The iteration, questions, feedback, answers loop continues until you are satisfied with it. The end result is that you have brought way more thought and rigor to bear on the development of that element of your story than you otherwise would have. Note, however, you are the one doing the thinking. The AI is your sounding board, helping to deepen and enhance your thought process. This is a very powerful technique. I want us to engage in the following structured iterative loop to develop a story element for my story. Step 1. Ask me to provide you with my initial ideas regarding the story element. Step 2. Upon receiving my input, provide me with an iteration of the story element incorporating my input. Follow your iteration by asking me to provide feedback on your iteration and with 4 or 5 questions from you focused on stimulating my imagination regarding the story element that will allow us to deepen and refine it. Step 3, upon receiving my feedback and answers to your questions, provide me with a new iteration, incorporating my feedback and any of my answers to the questions you posed, followed by 4 or 5 more questions focused on deepening and refining the story element. Step 4, upon receiving my input, continue with this iterative process repeating steps 2 and 3 until I am satisfied with the formulation of the story element. Contextual content for the story element we are developing is provided by the following content. So if there is any, upload your relevant contextual content or refer the AI to where it can be found. You might be developing a brand new story concept, in which case you don't have any contextual information. Number 4, breaking frame. When you develop a story, you do so having consciously and unconsciously chosen genre, character, structure, and plot elements, all determined by the way you see the story. This is the frame, the window through which you look at your story and which determines how you tell it. Nothing wrong with that. All stories are the product of a frame. However, a change of perspective of how you look at the story can unlock new insights about your structure, plot, and characters. Insights that can deepen and enhance them. For instance, content can be reworked according to the dictates and parameters of a different genre, or a character's traits can be changed to investigate how it affects the way the character tackles a situation in a scene, and so on. Doing this yourself will take a long time and much effort, but the speed at which an AI works allows you to break the frame through which you have grown accustomed to looking at your story quickly and almost effortlessly, and get to any insights that may be had by breaking the frame, and so enhance your telling of the story. Now in this prompt, you will see I've placed some description of what breaking frame is to make sure the AI is on the same page as I am. I want you to help me examine my story content through a different narrative frame to generate new insights. I call this process breaking frame, which I describe as follows. And here is the description I gave you when I was discussing this breaking frame. So I won't read all of that. Step 1. Ask me to describe the type of reframing I would like you to carry out on the stipulated content. For example, genre shift, character trait transformation, cultural historical transposition, structural reorganization. Here you stipulate how and through what new frame you would like to look at your content that you've generated. Step 2, upon receiving my choice, systematically reframe the content given below according to the narrative dictates, conventions, and parameters implied by the type of reframing I have stipulated. Note any interesting elements revealed by the reframing that might be worth incorporating in the original content. Suggest 1 or 2 additional frames that might yield further valuable insights. Here is the content I would like you to reframe. And here you upload your content or you refer it to where it can be found. Number 5, editor. Few writers present a final draft of a script or manuscript that has not been subjected to critical appraisal by a dispassionate, uninvested, but knowledgeable outside eye. Subjectively immersed, as the writer necessarily becomes when writing a story, little errors and inconsistencies in character, plot, structure, world building, writing style, and all the other narrative elements of a story can creep in, which an objective and knowledgeable outside eye picks up more easily. A good editor will give the writer insights that improve the story. In the language of my channel, good editorial feedback augments the writer. An AI is an editor constantly at your disposal. And the more powerful AI becomes, the better an editor it will be. The prompt I use is straightforward. You will act as my story editor, systematically analyzing and giving me constructive critical feedback as would a human editor. As my editor, your analysis and feedback must focus exclusively and only on the following aspects of the content. And here you list what kind of feedback you want. Do you want him to look at everything and just do what it thinks? Or character consistency, plot holes, whatever aspect of your story that you would like to have checked, you articulate here. Here is the content on which you will give your editorial feedback, and then you upload your content or refer it to where it can be found. These prompts demonstrate how you can harness AI's capabilities while keeping you, the writer, firmly in control of your creative process. Whether brainstorming, pressure testing ideas and content, iterating through feedback loops, exploring new perspectives, or getting editorial insights, The goal is always to amplify your creative vision rather than substitute it. By structuring AI interactions this way, you create a powerful creative partnership where technology serves to enhance rather than replace your unique voice as a storyteller. The story remains yours. AI just helps you tell it better. Thanks for joining me on this journey.